Hello, it's Denise from Travel Brilliant. I am back today with some information about river cruising. So if you guys have been following along, you know that I just recently sailed the Seine with AmaWaterways, and it was a wonderful experience. And I kind of want to share with you guys everything about that, the trip, working with Ama, the team on board, the excursions, all of that. So for transparency, as always, this was a fam trip, familiarization, meaning that I was invited as a travel agent by AmaWaterways to participate in this sailing. It was not free. I did pay for it at a discounted rate, and I did have to participate in some educational trainings while I was on board. Now, that being said, would I go back 100%? And who is this cruise good for? I sailed with my son, who is an 11-year-old little boy who had wanted to see Paris, and he absolutely loved this experience. So I'm going to kind of talk to you about how it was to be a mom on a ship like this and kind of all of the ins and outs of Ama. So one of the great things about AmaWaterways is that they are a true family-friendly river cruise. That is pretty rare. They offer both triple and quad staterooms, which is unique in the industry. And I think that that makes them a really great option for family cruising. This is also the same cruise line that will be chartered by your Adventures by Disney. So if you book an Adventures by Disney cruise, you are booking an AmaWaterways cruise with that additional Disney overlay on top of it. There's some additional experiences and team members from Disney that participate in those cruises. So Ama is unique in the industry because they are family friendly. They have a wide breadth of rivers that they sail on. We're talking Europe, so you've got the Danube, the Rhine, the Rhone, the Seine, and the Porto. You've also got Asia and Africa. So you're going to have China, Cambodia, those sailings. In Asia, you're going to have the Nile. In Africa, you're going to have Egypt and true African cruises that include safaris. And now they're also going to be sailing in Colombia starting in 2025. So there is a ton of options available for you when you sail with Ama. They are an all-inclusive experience. So what does that mean? Your cruise fare includes obviously your cruise cabin. So these are small ships. Even the largest ships are very small. So our ship, even with crew, was about 150 people. We were on the AmaLyra, which is one of their smaller ships, and going up into something like the Ama Magna, you're going to be like 200 passengers. So it is very small, which makes it really amazing because the entire team on board gets to know you personally. So they knew me, they knew my son. I think they knew his name quicker than they knew mine. My son was the only child on our sailing, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. So you get your cruise cabin and you have different types of cabins. We had a basic cabin with a window. There are cabins with French balconies and full balconies, and then suites as well. On board, you have a dining room where you're going to have your sit-down meals. So breakfast, lunch, and dinner. You can have sit down in the dining room, and these are multi-course meals. This is all inclusive. And then there's the lounge, in which you can have sort of a bistro meal if you wanted something a little lighter or a little quicker, if you decided to sleep in before those excursions and you just want to grab something a little bit quicker. In the lounge, you're also going to have high tea. You're going to have your sip and sail, which is an hour before dinner every day. There's a cocktail of the day, so you get that cocktail, beer and wine, all inclusive in that sip and sail, and then usually some hors d'oeuvres. And then you've got late night stacks in there as well. So, you know, there was a Bastille Day party. They had hot dogs, they had sandwiches, they had all sorts of stuff. So the food, well, you're never going to have that kind of walk-up buffet option that you do with ocean cruising. There was always food available. There was never a moment where you couldn't get a snack. And those sit-down meals are robust. And just like in any other cruise ship, if you wanted to eat 2 entrees, you could eat 2 entrees. My son ate 2 entrees and sometimes 2 or 3 desserts every night. There's also a chef's table, which is a 7-course tasting menu. That is included. You just make a reservation for the night that you'd like to do that once you get on board. And then one of their signature things is that they do have those bikes on board. So they have, in most ports, they do have an option to do a bike excursion. So that's a tour of that city via bicycle. And so you will have a tour guide, and you'll ride and you'll stop at the different points of interest, and you will get off the bike and have a conversation and sometimes go into those things like churches and castles and whatnot. But you can also sign them out as well if they are available. You do have to reserve them, but you can sign them out and go for a bike ride on your own. There is a wellness coach on board, so they are there to do different daily exercises. There's either a hot tub or a pool on board. Some of the ships have pickleball. There's chess. There's all sorts of stuff. So there's lots of things on board that are included. Really, the only extras is the spa, the gift shop, and if you bought extra cocktails outside of any of those instances, I will tell you my bill was for one cocktail. I only purchased one cocktail the entire time I was on board, and that wasn't because I was avoiding cocktails. It's just when you're off the ship, you don't need them. And then when you're on the ship, there's usually sort of dinner or a cocktail hour or something going on where you're going to be able to get a drink without having to spend extra money. So that beer and wine is all inclusive once you're in your meals. So again, I didn't really need to buy any drinks. The only one I bought was when we first got on board, we were waiting for a room to get ready. All of your excursions are included as well, and can be up to 6 excursions in each port. So depending on the day in the port, there's usually 2 walking tours, a gentle and an active. There's a bike ride, and then sometimes there's something like a hike as well. And that's 4 right there. And you could sometimes have a port where you have both morning and afternoon excursions. So then there could be 2 additional options in the afternoon as well. And you can do both. You can do the morning and the afternoon excursion. You are not limited to just one per day. You can choose both of those if you want to be off the ship and do that planned activity in the morning and the afternoon. And again, everything from a very gentle walk. So if you have people in your group who are a little bit older at a slower pace, they would do the gentle walk. And then things like the biking, hiking, and even more active walk as well. So again, sometimes up to 6 activities in that port that are included. And on the days that you are off ship, like we had an entire day excursion in Normandy where we left in the morning and didn't get back until almost dinner time. They set up a station so that you could make your own lunches to go. Sandwiches, chips, cookies, fruit, all of that good stuff, so that you could pack that, and that way you didn't have to spend money when you were off the ship as well. So they do an amazing job, and it is family friendly. I will say, you guys will know your kiddos best. There is not any official kid programming on board. There's no kids club. There's no specific activities designed for kids. Again, you would know if that's something that your child would like and handle. My son is 11. He did really well with it. He also very much thrived on the fact that he was the only kid on board and everyone was paying him so much attention. So my son is not a unicorn. He is a great kid. I love him so much, but he's a pain in the butt, just like any other 11-year-old who wants to play video games and hang out with their friends. But he absolutely thrived with the attention of being told that he was being such a good boy. So he kept wanting to live up to that because everybody was telling him how great he was. I also did give him time every day where he had like an hour that he could, play video games and do that kind of stuff. Now, it isn't because I was like, oh, you absolutely can't have screen time for more than an hour. We just didn't have a lot of extra time between all of the excursions and the meals and the activities. We were constantly busy. So again, if your kiddo isn't going to be able to handle a walking tour where they're listening to a guide talk about that experience, then this may be not the best suited for them. And I think it all depends on age too, and once they're interested in things. So I think Harrison was the right age and the right interest in the stops that we were going to on the Seine cruise. They were things that he had already expressed an interest in wanting to see before we had gone on the cruise. So I think that's obviously very important. And again, there was one morning that we did not do the morning activity because he said, "Mommy, I'm tired. I need a break." So we did not do that morning's activity. We slept in, we lounged around the ship, we had lunch, we went for our own little walk, just, to stretch our legs. We went to a little cafe and, so we did our own thing that morning, and that is absolutely fine. And, I was a little bummed that I missed that walk, but I understood that he needed that time. So again, you guys will know your kids best. And if you think that they need additional activities, I would definitely think about doing this as part of an adventure by Disney, so that you get that overlay of that Disney adventure guide who's dedicated just to the kids. Because again, it's helping to like maintain their interest and, you know, keep them engaged. And so that's an additional value for doing it with Adventures by Disney. So I think that this is an amazing experience for anybody. I would travel solo. There were some solo travelers doing it. It was really great. I met tons of people. Several of them on board were solo travelers, and how dinner is set up that you just kind of like mix and mingle at dinner time. It's so small that you do end up meeting everybody. And again, the activities are constantly going, the mingling is constantly going. So if you're somebody who struggles to like strike up a conversation, it's kind of a natural that you would eventually be able to make friends. Or if you chose to not want to hang out with anybody, you could do that as well. So great for solo travel, obviously great for families. I think it's the perfect trip for a multi-gen family. So taking grandparents, and that's what we saw. There was some young folks, not kiddos, but I would say like early 20s with their grandfather who was a veteran. And so when we went to Normandy, you saw it was a multi-generational family with the grandfather, the daughter, and then her kids as well. I think that that was a really beautiful family experience for them. It would also be great for like a ladies trip. They do like different itineraries. Some of them are wine focused. So if you're into wine, if you've always wanted to do an experience that was a little bit exotic, like the Nile River, again, great for a ladies group. There's also golf overlays. So if you know anybody who's an avid golfer that would want to golf through Europe, that would take place of one of the daily excursions, not in every port, but in the ports that have golf, that would be included, and that you would golf in those courses. So I think that there's a really wide breadth of travelers that would love this experience. And I do feel like on board, we were absolutely taking care of the value for what the cost of the cruise is 100% there. There's not a thing that we had to think about. The transfers, the getting us to and from the airport. This is one of the best things. I had the latest flight out. Harrison and I were flying back home from Paris at 6:55 p.m. Our transfer to the airport wasn't until 2:30. We were able to stay on board. Obviously, we had to leave our room, but we were able to stay on board and have lunch and everything. Like, even though it was our last day of the cruise and the new guests were coming on board, we were welcomed to stay. We were still fed. We were still given that cocktail. I mean, so it was really great, because if that was an ocean cruise, you have to get off and you're done. Like, figure it out. Figure out the next 5 hours until your flight departs. And it was very much welcoming. And as we were leaving for our transfer, our cruise manager grabbed an Ama hat and handed it to the kiddo, and he felt so special. So there was lots of moments like that where they did things to make you feel special, but not just for us. I think for every guest, they really go above and beyond. So for the value, what is happening, the ease of travel, being in that Ama bubble, the friendliness of the staff, the amazing food, everything was top notch. I would say that this is a great trip for anyone who is considering doing Europe, who wants to see a lot of Europe in a stress-free, luxurious way, having to only unpack once. It hits all of those top notes. So if you guys have any more questions about river cruising, you know how to find me. Drop me a comment or message me directly, and I will be happy to help you. And I'll see you guys real soon.